again and see if this works a little bit better this time. I tried to go live a little bit ago, and I don't know if it was my computer or the internet, but something did not like what was happening. And so anyway, we're going to try it again. So here we go. Happy Monday to you. What we're talking about today is excuses versus fear, right? So what's the difference between excuses and fear, right? And so the thing is, there's no difference. There's absolutely no difference at all between excuses and fear. The thing is when we are giving an excuse, and I was kind of getting into this earlier, but when we are giving an excuse, we're not giving it because we're fully aware that we're giving somebody an excuse for something. That's not what we're doing. We're giving an excuse as a reason why. We say, here's why I can't, boom, boom, boom. Like, here's the reason why. And so what we think we're doing is we're being logical and we're telling somebody, well, I can't do that because X, Y, and Z, right? And so what I want you guys to realize, first of all, if you're in any of my programs and we're on a call, right? And you start to serve up some excuses to me, which excuses are really only perceived by the outside looking in. We can never perceive that we're giving an excuse. Again, we perceive that we're giving a reason why, right? We think we're being very smart. And we're saying, well, obviously I can't do that because X, Y, and Z. From the outside in, especially as a coach, right? From the outside in, as you start serving those things up to me, my filters start going through what's true. What's true here? What's true and what's fear, right? So if there's a truth in it, we can address that. But usually it's maybe a pebble, a piece of sand, right? Surrounded by just like a big old boulder of fear, right? There's a little piece of truth that then garners all of this fear around it. And it's like, I can't move forward because of this little thing. And that's where, we just bring in reality and we illuminate the truth in it. Okay, well, if you've got this little thing that's maybe getting in your way, how do we make that not get in your way anymore, right? Not how can we substantiate all of the fear that comes around it, not how can I let you live in fear, not how can I let you stay where you're at right now, because my job, you guys, is to make sure that you're not getting stuck, that you're moving forward. And so whenever I see excuses, when I see them, I call them out, and not like a mean person, because I'm not like that. I'm graceful, I love you, and I do it like a big sister or a little sister, or however that makes sense for you, right? I do it as somebody who loves you. And I'm like, hey, permission to speak some truth here. That's what, it's usually something like that I'll say on a call, right? It's usually, if you're on these calls, you've seen it before, and I'll say like, permission to speak truth here, or permission to speak openly. Do you mind if I say what's on my mind right now? And what I'll do is I'll call out the excuse, and I'll be like, well, that's not even true. So that's not true because X, Y, and Z. But the thing is, guys, whenever we discover, when we are trying to like create these reasons why we can't do something, it's not in our best interest. But what it does is we fight for our limitations. And there was somebody that said, I think it's Gay Hendricks, that said, if you fight for your limitations, you get to keep them. If you fight for your limitations, if you argue for them, if you go to court with them, then you get to keep them. But you don't really want to keep them. So what are you fighting for? You're fighting for what comes natural. And what comes natural is that you don't grow. What comes natural is that you stay in the state that you've been in forever and ever, amen, and that you don't jump outside of that state. And that's another psychological thing with us guys, where we're like, well, if I become a better version of me, I now become somewhat unrecognizable to people that love me. And if I become somewhat unrecognizable to people that love me, they may not love me anymore. That's the root, guys. And then let's look at that and say, well, is that the truth? Will they not love you? 9 times out of 10, that's not true. It's just a fear. But it's a fear that we believe so much we don't even know we believe it. Does that make sense? It becomes a reality. We don't even know that we believe it. Because it's so back here, it doesn't come forefront. We don't think about it consciously. It's just a belief that drives everything, right? The reality is, most people are still going to love you, and most people are still going to support you. And here's the uncomfortable truth, because I'm not going to slide by this and say this isn't true on any account. There are some people that will slough away. But those people that slough away only slough away because you are no longer valuable to them. And that needs to be something that you're okay with. I've had people in my life slough away. And then they come back sometimes. And then sometimes they slough away again, right? That needs to be less of what we're focused on. And we need to focus more on who our people are and impacting our people. Not, are we going to be okay with current situations? That should not, I'm just going to say it should not matter to us. What we're called to do is much larger than what we're afraid of losing. In reality, sometimes we have to lose people in our life in order to be able to do what we're called to do, because they're keeping us in a place that isn't good. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying sometimes they keep us in a place that isn't good for us. And that's just the truth. Okay? So when we look at the difference between fear and excuses, there's no difference. They are the same. You give excuses or reasons why you can't do something because you're afraid to do it. And sometimes you're afraid because, you know, you're going to grow and people aren't going to love you anymore. Sometimes you're afraid because, you know, you think you're going to look stupid, or you're going to feel stupid. There's going to be those sorts of things around it, or people are going to see you make a bad decision, or, you know, that sort of thing. As long as you, random hiccup, as long as you have really determined that you're going to do this thing, you know why you're going to do it, you know who you want to impact, you know who you want to help, you are just solid on this. Once you get to that place, don't let any fear in the way. Don't let any excuse stand in your way. There's no more, well, I can't do this because. No, now it's, how can I do this? It's not, I can't do this because. Listen, your brain tries to end stories. It works in narratives, right? And so it tries to, if you give it the beginning of a story, it will try like heck to end that story. So like, that's how rumors get started. Because you hear something and you're like, well, I wonder what that means. Well, it could mean this, it could mean this, it could mean this. And your brain is ending stories. That's what it does. And so whenever you give it your own story. Oh, it's so bad, guys. Whenever you give it your own story, I can't do this because, and then your brain's like, oh, well, you can't do it because of this and this and this and this, because that's its job, is to end the story. It needs to make sense of what you have told it is reality, okay? So now what if we instead make it end the story different? What if we instead say, how can I do X, Y, and Z? Well, now you've given your brain a different job. a more productive job, right? Well, how can I? Oh, well, I could do it this way and this way and this way and this way. Guys, life ends up different because we're looking at it different. We're choosing a new perspective, we're choosing a new mission, and we're choosing a new solution, and we're choosing a new adventure. I had to. I'm sorry, I had to. Anybody love those books? I love those books. Sorry. But guys, this is real. And I hope for those of you that made it through this video of what felt like maybe rambling, but I feel like you guys were following me through it. I just needed you to kind of go with me even through my own path and my own brain pathways to get where I needed to take you. But we need to understand excuses aren't real. And the fear feels real, but the reason isn't. And it doesn't have to make sense or be real in your life. It doesn't have to. That's up to you, right? Okay, I love you guys. Yes, totally followed you. Thank you. Thank you. You can't be who you are and also be who you want to become. You got to grow and got to break out of your current shell. Be a hermit crab. Yes, I love it. My family and friends have loved me through my growth. Oh, I love that too. Oh, it's so good, guys. Oh, I love all your comments here. I'm gonna pop out. I'm just gonna let you guys sit with that today, right? I'm just gonna let you sit with it. If you're in HBR, we just launched week 2 today, so I will see you this evening. If you're not in yet, go ahead and hop in. The next one starts in May, which means that we can accommodate some payment plans we don't usually accommodate. It just needs to be paid off by the time you actually start in May, but we can get you going. So anywho, I love you guys. I will see you later. Adios.